I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the D2Z podcast, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and president of Retention as a Service Agency, Electric. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Case, the co-founder of NoonBrew. Super excited to have you on and get to chat about all the things you got going on right now.
Yeah, excited. There's a lot of stuff going on, so happy to dive into a lot of it.
You've also got the coolest background of any podcast guest I've had so far. Where are you?
I have a really nice view of the city. We're at Brooklyn in Williamsburg. Okay. So yeah, that's where the office is and where the employees work out of.
Nice. Yeah, my flight back from New York after Grow got canceled, and they rebooked me 3 days later. So I had to, I guess, add an additional 3 nights in Brooklyn, and the rooftops were sweet looking back at the city.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. Excited to dive in and jump in. And retention, we are very much focused on retention. So happy to talk about that too.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into some of the specific topics we want to cover today, can you give everybody just a quick background on you and then also NoonBrew?
Yeah, so quick background on NoonBrew. We started NoonBrew back in March of 2021, launched in September 2021. So it took us about 6 months to formulate NoonBrew, to get the packaging, branding, everything of that sort. The problem originally with NoonBrew, and we have another product called NoonBrew, which I'll go into, but with NoonBrew, it was a tea for the afternoon slump. So my co-founder, Alan, and I always got tired in the afternoons and wanted something besides coffee or energy drinks to give us that energy and focus and productivity to get through to dinner time and the rest of the evening. And, coffee would provide jitters and make us really anxious. And it wasn't, the first cup of coffee was great, but the second or third cup always felt a little bit forced. So started talking with a lot of people, and everyone said that they had the exact same problem, but no one really had a solution for it. My mom would go and take a nap. My cousin would drink green tea, but it didn't really help him as much as he wanted to. So we developed this really, really good tea formula with oolong tea and 19 different superfoods that help with focus and productivity, and it really is effective. We actually did a customer survey just last month of over 500 of our customers, and the amount of people that feel the effects almost immediately were about 75%. So that was really interesting to see, and that's something that we're starting to do a lot more now, which is like post-purchase surveys and attribution. But in any case, we grew NoonBrew all throughout 2022. We launched Superfood Honey in May of 2022, which was good. It wasn't like a hero product like our tea was, NoonBrew, but it was a really good complementary product. And then in October, so on Halloween, we launched NoonBrew, which is our nighttime tea. A lot of people have trouble sleeping. They have insomnia or sleeping disorders, especially as you get older. It really impacts you. And we saw that as like a natural extension for our product line. So we launched that on Halloween, basically sold out of that immediately. It was a really big hit with our customer base. That actually is starting to overtake sales of NoonBrew, which is really interesting. We didn't really expect that to happen. But yeah, we've been growing NoonBrew for the past, call it a little bit over 2 years now, and it's been going really well.
Well, I literally was just having this conversation yesterday with my girlfriend. I was like, I don't sleep enough. Then I wake up and I drink coffee because I didn't sleep enough. Then I get to the nighttime, and because I had too much coffee, I can't sleep. And then I wake up again and I have more coffee because I'm tired because I didn't sleep enough. And so it's like this vicious cycle. Sounds like I could be your perfect, ideal customer.
Yeah. A lot of people have trouble sleeping, and there's different stages of having trouble sleeping. Some people get a lot of anxiety before they go to bed and they can't turn off before that. A lot of people, a ton of people have trouble they wake up in the middle of the night and they can't go back to sleep. And then, just as you had mentioned, a lot of people also wake up groggy and they need caffeine to get them up, and they have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning.
Yeah. How did you think about product development? Like, where did the nighttime version come from? Was it just, hey, we need to think about how to increase AOV or increase the lifetime value of a customer? This makes a lot of sense. Or was it sort of sourced from customer feedback? Like, how did you actually come to deciding that that was going to be the product that you invested time and resources in bringing to market?
Yeah. So at first, we had no idea how to do a lot of this different product development. So the real story is that after we launched NoonBrew, I was out to drinks with one of my buddies, and he's like, "Hey, what your second product is going to be." And I was like so burnt out from launching NoonBrew. I was like, "I have no idea." And he's like, "Moonbrew, the nighttime tea." And I was like, "That's a genius idea. I need to go and trademark that name ASAP." And that's what we did. So we trademarked Moonbrew, and we thought we were going to launch it a lot sooner than we did. But like, it takes a while to launch these different products. You always think that you're going to launch it earlier, but there's always some types of delay. So like, we had the idea for Moonbrew almost immediately after we started NoonBrew as like a natural line extension. Now we're a lot more methodical. So we do post-purchase attribution surveys or post-purchase surveys that we'll say like, what types of flavors are you interested in us introducing, or like which types of flavors would you like to try? And we give customers a host of different options, and we just use no commerce for that. So that's been really good. And then we have a lot of different type form surveys that we're asking, and we also you can see within customer reviews too what people want. But yeah, being very proactive in terms of what the next stage of product development is really important. And just like as you mentioned, it's a great tool to boost your lifetime revenue.
Yeah, I mean, I see you've got a bunch of different like merchandising sort of strategies on site as well, with various like kits and bundles, and then some packs. Are you What solution are you using to put those all together?
That's just Replo. So we use Replo as a website builder, and then we just make the SKUs within Shopify. And for subscription, we use Stay.ai.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think it's always interesting to see brands that start with like one hero product sort of evolve, because for the most part, unless you're like Athletic Greens, I guess, though I'm sure they probably have some like accessories and other products as well. Like, you can't survive off of one product alone. And so how do you think about logical extension into other adjacent product lines, or maybe just completely different as well, to be able to increase that AOV? Have you looked, or have you considered, or do you use any of the cross store like selling apps? And I know with editions coming out yesterday, like Shopify has their own version as well now. Have you thought about that?
We've thought about it, but it's something that you want to control the customer journey. So do you want to be selling another product that's complementary from a different storefront post purchase? Maybe some people might want to do that. There's also Caro as well that allows you to sell other companies' products on your website, which is interesting. But I think that the way that we think about it is that we want to control the customer journey, and we segment out based on if you're a subscription or if you're a one-time purchase. If you're a one-time purchase, you had a totally different flow than if you're a subscriber. Subscribers obviously more about retention and trying to get them into month 2 and month 3, whereas one-time purchase, we are normally trying to upsell you into like a subscription or a bundle post-purchase. So in terms of like product extension, what we're thinking about is more so internally versus, we do different partnerships, but those are more like transactional, I would say, and not necessarily too much long term. Where like we're thinking about it more of like similar to how NoonBrew and Moonbrew and like the honey. It's like, can we build another product that is complementary and like adds a nice, say like a creamer. So a lot of people will use cream within Moonbrew to accentuate its flavor. So can we build our own creamer instead of having our customers go out and buy a creamer to utilize for Moonbrew, for instance? So what are our customers already doing, and how do we like supplement that with some of our own products?
And with no commerce, do you ask customers like what would be a product that you would create almost?
We don't have any open-ended questions like that. That's a good one that we should probably ask at the end within there. We ask more so it's like, here are the selection of products that we're thinking about. Which one of these would you like to try?
Got it. So a little bit more targeted. Yeah, something
Yeah.
that was interesting that we did with Soylent is they have this like innovation lab. So it's basically an opt-in that customers can select right after checkout, and in some other places as well. But I think there's like 400 or 500 of them now at this point. But they're basically like signing up to do things like that, like provide ideas and support around potential new product ideas, either brought by them or by others in the market as well. And it's been interesting to see some of the some of the things. Some of them are just wild, but others are like actually pretty relevant, and could potentially be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you have no idea where ideas are going to come from. And I think that being open to just customer feedback, even like Moonboost. So Moonboost is another one of our products that is like an extra strength version of Moonbrew. But I just got that idea from one of my friends who was like, hey, like I've been using Moonbrew a lot, but I put glycine within there to help with like a little bit more of a knockout effect. And they're
Mm.
like, oh, well, we can just do that ourselves and market that as a new product. And that's what we did. And that's been a really, really great product for us.
How long does it take from like product ideation to actually product in market? And what are some of the hiccups that you've had to go through? Because I have no product development experience whatsoever, and I don't envy brand owners who have to go through that process. Um, so
Yeah.
curious what that actually looks like.
Yeah, my co-founder does all of it, so he's definitely the one that is like really the scientist within the lab, I would say. But it takes about 90 to 120 days, so 3 to 4 months from ideation to
Okay.
formulation, getting the packaging done. Then you have to order the different ingredients, make sure it's formulated. Then it goes to the co-packer. The co-packer is the one that puts the powder in the packaging, and like that could take time because you have to schedule line time within that, especially as you get bigger. You're using a lot more standardized co-packers, which they just have a lot more regulation and scheduling, and then you have to send it to your 3PL. So all of those take a lot more time than you originally budgeted for. So I would say like 4 months.
Got it. Yeah, I think that is probably the one of the few. I guess one of the value props to one of those cross store selling apps is that you can kind of test into something before necessarily like putting the capital outlay into actually going out and building your own. But I think ultimately having it as your own is a better customer experience, and having one shipment and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and we've tested it out. So like we did a test where we did a collaboration with Hydrant. So Hydrant's a
Yeah.
hydration water hydration, but like they also have flavor packets, and we saw that a lot of our customers wanted flavor NoonBrew. So John, the founder of Hydrant, is a good buddy of mine, and we tested that out and saw that a lot of customers wanted more products like that. But it was a way that like instead of us having to wait 4 months to do the formulation and to do our own packaging, everything that sort, we can do that within a few weeks. And it was a little bit of an in between. It's not like we were like upselling Hydrant from Hydrant store or like driving traffic to Hydrant store for customers to check out. It was still like a unified experience, and we had a collaboration where we had our own landing page for it, and like we bundled it and we ordered X amount of Hydrant, delivered that to our 3PL, and our 3PL was bundling and kitting Hydrant and NoonBrew. And it was also a great way for us to liquidate some of our inventory of NoonBrew as well. But it's along the same type of thinking though. How do you understand what your
Yeah.
customers want and do product development?
Well, it'll be interesting as Shopify makes more investment into the shop app. It feels like in a future state, a customer would be able to go onto the shop app, like add products from Noon Brew, add products from Hydrant, maybe add products from another brand, and it's all going to come in sort of one order out of the same fulfillment center. If you wanted to be able to rival an experience that you get with something like an Amazon, um, I mean, they still have a lot of limitations in place, like they don't have split cart functionality. So right now, you still have to do a separate checkout for every brand that you're shopping from, and some sort of table stake stuff that needs to be taken care of. But um, I feel like
Are they going to
they're
have their own like fulfillment by Shopify, where you send in product and then
I mean,
it
I
gets
think
bundled?
that was the whole idea around their acquisition of Deliveroo, but now
Right.
they've offloaded that to Flexport, I believe is the name of the company. Um,
Yeah.
but everything's sort of moving towards consolidation. So we'll see.
I just want one page checkout. I
It's
mean, they're
here.
saying that it. Do you have clients that are using it?
Yeah. If you go to the Shopify checkout landing page, and I can send it to you, like at the bottom, you just put in your email and they'll put you in the queue for access, I believe, because I don't think it's general release at this moment, though
Yeah.
with editions getting released yesterday, it might be, because now you can preview the one page checkout in your like Shopify theme editor as well.
Oh, you
And
can.
yeah, it's pretty slick. I have it on my personal website is on Shopify, even though I don't sell anything. It's just easier with our development team and whatnot. So I mess around with things like that, and the one page checkout is pretty slick. I mean, Shop Pay is still like a better and faster converting experience, but for customers who don't have Shop Pay,
Interesting.
it's better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because I mean, we're always looking at different ways that we can improve our conversion rate.
Yeah, and then all of your like standard checkout extensibility plugins like cross sells or loyalty point embed, whatever, it all functions the same way, but it's on one page, so it makes it easier to get conversion, I think, because right now, like with cross sells on the standard checkout, you're only seeing it on one of the three screens when you're going through the process versus seeing it on just that one singular checkout page.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. I mean, we're always doing like Google optimized stuff. And actually, that's a question for you. What are you going to be using post Google optimize?
What are we using post Google optimize?
Yeah.
There's a couple of like native solutions to Shopify. I don't know if they actually provide. Um, I don't know if they provide A/B testing for the checkout itself, though. But your
Hmm.
standard is like Optimizely and then Clevu, Clevu. I don't know how you actually say it. Klevu. Um, we typically have used Optimizely, but I actually just started talking to Clevu, however you say it, about 2 weeks ago, and I have a product
Are they
demo with
good?
them. I have a product demo with them next week, so TBD on that. But that's a feature that I'm at like sort of a proponent of Shopify just internalizing. Um,
Totally.
it feels like it'd be so much easier to not have to use a third party app for that. And you see it
Yeah.
with the release of things like Shopify bundles or Shopify Collective. There's certain things that you know might just make more sense to be a Shopify product. Um, so
Yeah.
that's my hope, is that you could just toggle between variations just like you can in Glavio or anything else for A/B testing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, that's something that it just makes more sense because they're going to be able to get more revenue as well. Shopify get the payment processing fees. So you would
Yeah,
think that they would want to do that.
if you look at like half of their editions updates, it's all around how to help merchants acquire more customers, because more customers means more GMV, which means more payment processing, and obviously that's where they make all their money. Um,
Yeah.
are you using
Yeah.
like all of the shop products? Do you use Shop Pay? Are you on the Shop app? Are you trying like Shop Cash offers and things like that? Shopify
We haven't tried
audiences,
ShopCat. Oh, we do have Shop. Yeah, we have Shop Pay,
Shop Pay.
and we have Shop Cash and all these different ones. But yeah, it's one of those things where it gets tough with a lot of these new products, especially when you're trying to just like do everything else with running the business and everything internally. There's always
Yeah.
different fires to put out. I see a lot of that stuff being introduced, but like until someone is like, "Hey, you need to use this," I generally like am not one of those people that are like the absolute first adopter within there.
Yeah, that makes sense. How is Speaking of like first adopters, how are you leveraging or not leveraging AI in your sort of day-to-day operations and business right now?
We utilize ChatGPT a little bit for email campaigns, as well as like scripts for VSLs, so video sales letters. But we don't really utilize it too much, I would say. but we want to start using it a lot more, especially like voiceovers too. So we can pump out a lot of video ads, and like 11 Labs is really interesting for that. So we're gonna be testing that out a lot.
Yeah, I think the features and functionality that it provides for like creative iteration, and maybe you only have to do like one photo shoot and then you're just layering in different backgrounds, you're moving products around, you can do whatever you want. Some of the stuff from Google is really fascinating. um, and there's like some debate now around, what's a photo versus like a picture. I forget what it was, but it's like, when does it stop becoming a picture because you've edited it so much that, I mean, you can literally change entire sceneries or remove people from photos. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, in the future, like you're just going to be able to deep fake a lot of these different videos and be able to test out tons of different videos at one time to see which one has the highest conversion and be able to scale that. So I think that's really interesting, but we're not there just yet. But a lot of the different technology that people are putting in place, like even just with the AI voiceovers, are making it so content is becoming cheaper to produce at
Yeah,
scale.
yeah, you can. One of the updates was you can basically create a blog post in like 5 seconds because you just add tone to it, you add in like a couple of topics, and then you let it just create. And obviously you have to like make edits to it, and it's not a replacement, but it's like an augmentation. So maybe a copywriter who could do 8 blog posts a month can now do like 30 because they don't have to do sort of the basic blocking and tackling. And also ideation, at least for me, is half the battle. Like once I have the idea and I know what I'm doing, then like you can really start to crank on it. But getting that sort of framework to start is the most challenging for me. Or like, hey, what are the actual ideas to have here? And I just would rather prefer AI run with that versus me having to do it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that prompt engineering is going to be very, very valuable. It already is very valuable, but how do you like make sure that you have all these different prompts set up for success? And that's the hardest thing, I would say. Once you have that, you can easily recreate blog posts or articles, and I think content's going to become a lot cheaper, and that's what the Screen Actors Guild is like basically fighting for right now too.
Are you purely e-commerce at this moment?
Yes. Yeah. In
Are
terms of
you
what, D2C or like wholesale, retail?
Yeah, like are you in any brick and mortar locations?
We are, but it hasn't been like the biggest focus of the company. The biggest focus has been like how to acquire customer cohorts at like a really good efficiency and like drive down our payback period. So that's
Mm-hmm.
like the main focus right now, which is what is our payback period based off of our contribution margin with certain customer cohorts, and then how do we you know get that customer payback period by like month 2 and month 3 so that we can scale.
What what are your most successful sort of channels and tactics right now? I'm sure it's shifted a lot in since when you started to now with all the various changes that have rolled out with iOS and whatnot.
Well, we started after iOS happened. So
You
we've
did,
always
okay.
been on Facebook, and we've always been battling CPAs that are not easy to like really control, especially from Facebook. We're heavily leveraged on Facebook, and we're actually getting set up with Super Affiliate right now. So we're going to be trying to like really scale our customer referral program,
Hmm.
as well as our affiliate and influencer program. But for right now, it's been very much on Facebook and then also on Amazon.
Got it. What are your thoughts around Amazon in the channel mix for you? I hear a lot of different things from CPG founders.
What do they say?
I mean, it depends on the product. So, like for kombucha, Amazon makes, or like a poppy or something. Amazon makes a lot of sense because it's a heavier product, low price per unit. Just like the margins are not fantastic for e-commerce to begin with, and so we've even had some brands just stop selling on Shopify entirely. And I think Poppy does that as well. Like Poppy has a website, but they don't fulfill anything. It's all FBA, and they drive everything through through Amazon. But then you have others who are like, you know, Amazon's going to not give us customer data. We're not going to have that like actual relationship with the customer. It's much harder to measure and you know have an impact on repurchase rate and LTV. So they prefer to try and be as Shopify heavy as possible. But I think like
Yeah, I think
you're
it's tough to
really
say. I think that like customers are going to be looking for you on Amazon. Amazon's also very reckless in terms of reviews and like hard to control. The Amazon shoppers are very critical, I would say. So like you need to have a really good product, and if you don't, then it's going to really. It could also like negatively impact your D2C sales because if someone goes from your D2C website to Amazon, sees that you have 2 stars and a ton of different like unhappy customers, then that's going to negatively impact your D2C storefront. So like you have to weigh that too. And Amazon's not easy, I would say. Like there's a lot of different types of guardrails that you have to really watch out for, as well as like just shipping into FBA, or if you're going to do FBM, there's a lot of different decisions within that. It's also very competitive, but I think in some ways like you kind of have to be on Amazon
Mhm.
for the right product. If you're Poppy, or if you're like a ready to drink RTD brand, like already D2C is going to be tough for you because your margins are just going to be awful. Like I don't think that you can be I think that's really tough to be only D2C if you're ready to drink, just because the shipping costs are so high. Or if like you're anything frozen, like that's really tough as well to be D2C. So you have to look at other channels. Um, us, we have powder, or tea, so it's very cheap to ship. So like obviously D2C makes sense for us, but also we are on Amazon. Not like a huge amount of our sales come from Amazon each day, but it's enough, and it's also a profitable channel. So like, yeah, we definitely lean into Amazon. We see that as being a bigger and bigger channel as we go through.
Do you have a different product assortment on Amazon versus Shopify? And then have you thought about any of these other marketplaces, whether it's like Walmart or spinning up like a TikTok shop, things like that?
We have thought about that, to answer your second question, but I think that also like when you're such a small team, you need to focus. And like if you expand too far out, like you're going to do nothing well. So like we see the most volume right now from Facebook and Facebook Shop. So how do we optimize that experience for our customers and make sure that like our product rating and everything like that is really good? And then for Amazon, we have a similar product assortment, but we don't have bundles on Amazon just yet. So we'll probably introduce bundles in Q4, but for the most part, it's a 30 serving pack or a 10 serving travel pack. And that was actually one thing where Amazon customers, you want to have a 10 serving travel pack on there because they're not always going to be as likely to purchase a 30 serving for $48. You need to get them for like a smaller price point, since it could be more of a transactional type of buyer that wants to try it first versus a customer that's going onto your website, and you can control a lot of the different information that you provide to them and do upsells and cross sells, everything of that sort.
I feel like Amazon would actually lend itself better to that style of product offering because you just have it in like FBA or whatever, and you don't have to.
It's cheap to ship, yeah.
Yeah. Do you
But
send?
Amazon, you also want to go wide in some cases too. So you want to have like different flavors, and that's really important to build out, like to scale on Amazon. A lot of the different agencies that you'll talk with, they say to scale horizontally with your product mix.
Got it. Are you? Do you? Let's say you have like a list of customers who they've been on your Klaviyo list for 3 months, still haven't purchased on your website. Are you like trying to send them to Amazon to that 10-day trial pack?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, we definitely need to do a better job of that. But yeah, like I think that, and it's not even just the people that are unconverted, but also we're thinking about that from just people that have purchased. Hey, do you want this in 2 days versus, not to say that we have like a really long shipping time because we don't, but it's like you can say like, hey, if you're a Prime member, get NoonBrew or MoonBrew in 2 days, and that could be a very big value prop, especially for someone that's running low.
Yeah, that makes sense. So going more on like the starting your own business side of things, what has been sort of the most rewarding part of it, but then what are some of the not so glamorous things that you maybe didn't think about before embarking upon this journey?
So rewarding part is one, like a lot of the reviews that come in. So Alan, my co-founder, and we just wanted to create a tea that would help us with energy to get through the afternoons. But some of the reviews that you get are like, this has been life changing. It's been helping my sleep. It's the only thing that like allows me to work late at night, or to, for nurses to get through their shifts, which they have like 16-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts. So hearing about the stories from customers is always the most rewarding part. Also, like seeing your product packaging at stores. We were in pop-up grocer, so like that has been really cool to see, or just like seeing your friends enjoy it as well. I was in B2B tech before, and I was selling health insurance at a company called Zenefits. None of my friends were my clients, and even if they were, they probably wouldn't have had a great experience because the software wasn't that great back then. Not to say anything about Benefits, because it's a great company, but yeah, like having like friends that enjoy your product is something that's really special. And a lot of my friends are big customers, and even my mom's like our biggest fan. So like that's been really great. There's so many tough parts though of running the business. I think like the biggest thing, cash flow management, having to learn a lot on the fly, learning things, and then being like, wow, I really wish I would have known that a year ago, because I would have ran my business totally differently had I been focusing in on customer cohorts and contribution margin and like profitability and all these different things, versus just like being very, very much focused on NCPA. But I think that's all part of the journey. So it's very difficult, very, very rewarding. And you have those different moments. There's like a lot of highs and lows, and they happen throughout the day. So it makes for, you have to like really keep your head on straight, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a roller coaster.
It's a very big roller coaster, but it's great. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. And the people that you meet along the way, I think, are really, really awesome too. The e-com community is super supportive.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, most of my friends are work related at this point, and I think that just sort of lends itself to the fact that if you are an entrepreneur, like building your own business, inherently you're going to be spending a lot of time on it and within that like ecosystem, and then you meet others who have similar like passions or similar motivation and drive to accomplish or achieve something in that vein, and it just makes for you know friendships that expand beyond just the confines of work, which is pretty cool.
And you meet a ton of people too. There's always people being introduced, and a lot of different events and dinners and conferences, like you mentioned with Grow. So
Yeah,
it's a good community. Everyone's like fighting the same battle.
my biggest issue has been like saying no, because there's this mindset that you should say yes to everything. But then I read something the other day. It was like you should actually say no to absolutely everything unless it's like absolutely yes. Like I need to do this or I need to be there. And
Yeah,
I get that for sure because I've gone to some events or things, and not that like my time is just so valuable in sort of like an egotistical way, but like there's only so much time in a day, and if you go waste it for 4 hours at like some event that didn't really accomplish anything for you, now like you're set back those 4 hours and have to make it up somehow in terms of work for the business that day or whatever. So it's like
well, your time is
balancing the
valuable,
yeah.
and I think that that's like the only. I mean, everyone has the same amount of time, and I think that you have to be ruthless with understanding, hey, like this intro actually is not good for me. And I think that as you start to grow the company or whatever it might be, you're always going to be getting a lot of cold emails. You're going to be getting a lot of unsolicited intros, which are the absolute worst. Um,
That's
and
my
you
biggest
have to,
pet peeve is the
yeah,
unsolicited intro. And then I feel
I just
bad
don't
too
respond anymore.
if it doesn't line up, then I just feel bad because I'm like I'm sorry, like this just doesn't make
Yeah,
sense at this time.
I mean, you have to protect your time. So it has to be, it's good to get better at saying no, and saying like, hey, sorry, like, I need to focus on this because this is actually way more important than like an intro call. Um, you know, you start to really understand like what are the main drivers of the business and where to prioritize. And I think that like starts to over time, it compounds.
Yeah. Well, based on that, one of my last questions for you, you obviously have finite resources and time. How have you thought about growing and scaling the team, um, and starting to delegate maybe some of the things that you used to be doing that now somebody else has to do? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think that we're going to be hiring a head of acquisition. We're going to be moving someone from product and ops into retention, and then we're going to be hiring someone for operations. Um, and the way that I see a lot of NoonBrew growing, obviously there's the marketing, retention side, and then there's the product and operations side, and being able to understand which we need full-time employees for internally and which we need agencies for, which I think is a big question, because you don't want to just like have a bloated full-time employee staff, because it becomes harder to manage, and like payroll, obviously you don't want that to really inflate. But then again, like some employees are really important to have internally. So, with scaling obviously for a D2C brand is different from like a service-based one, where like service-based you scale via employees, but like D2C, you can have a 5-person team that's doing a lot of revenue, just by like efficient ad spend and some of these efficient types of processes. So like we're not looking at scaling too much on the team side. We're looking at like what are the different efficient channels that we can use for acquisition to scale, and like how do we get better at post purchase. And then in terms of scaling, it's understanding what are some good channels that you can get a good positive ROAS off of, or like a ROAS that makes sense, and invest within there that also have scale, while not losing sight of Facebook ads being able to really scale to where you want it to be with the right type of creative and content. I mean, there's different companies that are doing tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars on Facebook, just Facebook alone. So like, unless you're at that scale, like in a lot of cases, it's not good to like take your eye off the ball.
Right. It's like, if you're building a social presence, don't post on LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and like, I don't know, whatever, because you need to focus on one first and then expand. You see the same
Exactly.
thing with creators. Like maybe they were YouTube creators and now they're starting to get into TikTok, or they were TikTok creators and now they're starting to get into YouTube. But it's very difficult to do all of them all at once unless you have some sort of a team behind you.
Exactly. And if you try and do all of them all at once, you're probably going to be mediocre.
Yeah. I've seen that time and time again. Well, those were really, I got like 1,000 other questions, but time is a valuable resource here. So I want to turn it over to you if you've got any questions and want to be the interviewer for a second. Here's
I
your
guess like,
chance.
you're Mr. Retention. So like, what are some of the best retention types of strategies, or also what companies are you seeing within the field that are doing retention very well?
Yeah, I think for me, the best retention strategy is not using a traditional loyalty program and just having, because if you interact with like Uber or your airline companies, you don't actually have to like do anything in terms of unlocking certain status or receiving certain rewards or benefits. Like with Uber, you have certain tiers and it just happens. And the only thing that I'm responsible for as the end customer or user is just using the product more. And I like to think of retention for e-commerce brands in the same way. Like for NoonBrew, why would you have some sort of complex like points-based system that customers are going to have to log in to see how many points they have, like figure out what it can be redeemed for? They'll have to add the code into checkout. Like there's so many hoops that they have to jump through, when at the end of the day, all you really want is for them to keep purchasing. So why not just lay out to them from the get-go, hey, like we've got 3 tiers. Let's make this up: silver, gold, like platinum. And once you hit this certain spend threshold, here's all the things that happen for you. And so you start hitting them with that communication even before their first purchase. You showcase it in the order confirmation emails. You highlight it before they come back to place their second order, like where they are on that progress. Like, hey, after this order, you're going to get a free this, and you're going to get percentage off forever, and I don't know, free shipping or something. Like those are the best ways to drive retention, because it's frictionless for the customer and you're just automatically rewarding them for what you want them to be doing, which is just buying more products. So I think it gets overcomplicated a lot. And for companies like yourself who have subscription programs with a limited set of SKUs, you can even do it based off of like order tier. So like, let's say you make it to your fifth order, like that fifth order always includes some sort of crazy ambassador, like merch kit or something that's included in the order. Things like that will generate far more surprise and delight, and then it'll show up on social media and you'll get more UGC from it, and it just sort of has a flywheel effect. So
I like that a lot. That gives me a lot of good ideas.
that's my
Yeah.
long-winded rant around loyalty programs.
All
Well,
right, I gotta ideate with my head of retention, but I like that a lot, because we've been focusing a lot on activation and emails and like how to get people to use the product, but also there's like the incentive-based one as well.
yeah, and I think both can play hand in hand. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Before we hop off here, can you just let everybody know where they can find NoonBrew online?
Yeah, don't go to Amazon. Go to noonbrew.co so you can get your customer data. But yeah, noonbrew.co, and then try it out. Yeah, I think it's great. I use it every single day. But yeah, noonbrew.co.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. As always, for everybody listening, this is Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com or electricmarketing.com, and we'll see you next time.